Chapter 11. Ranching System, Activated. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Don't be stupid this time, and hear me out. If you plan on having these girls around you and you don't want to become lunch while you sleep, you had better listen. Geez, this guy was forceful, but I wasn't ignoring what he was saying. There was an excellent chance that he was right, and it would only be a matter of time until Jilly figured some way around Mary. You just made that up, didn't you? Fine, you're right. I am being a bit of a turd, and I do need your help. So, lay it on me, what is this fancy and unique system that you have for me? Ranching System, Activated. Level Up, Level 1 gained. Level Up, Level 2 gained. I still wasn't sure precisely what Hero meant with the system, but if it would still let me keep my own personal restrictions on myself, then it couldn't hurt. Plus, it wouldn't be bad to do something that I was already going to do anyway. A large white dot bordered white dot edged window with a black tinted background appeared in front of me. There was white writing, and it reminded me of an old MS-DOS screen on the old IBM computers. Kes Foreman, Level 2 Title. Not applicable rank. Poor and ranchless rancher, Monster Girls. 2 System. Ranching System abilities. Monster Girl Rancher. Gain experience from taking care of your monster girls. Monster Girl Pacification. The innate ability to calm monster girls. Monster Girl Care. All things done to care for monster girls are 100% more effective. Jilly, Level 2 Title. Not applicable species. Omniacade unique ability. Air pressure control system. Builder system abilities. Builder bug. Gain experience from completing building tasks. Pincer saw. Activate to use pincers as a saw. Spine nailer. Activate to fire fastening spines that grow out like razor vines, securing the spine. BL.net. Mary, Level 3 Title. Not applicable species. Gorgon Medusa / Unique ability. System. Saintly survival system abilities. In the aid of others. Gain experience from helping party members. Helping hand. Twice per day, you can use this ability to help a party member that is in need, but the items used to help will disappear after use. Blessing. Gives logic bending luck bonus to survival odds when put into harm's way. I could feel 2 pairs of eyes looking over my shoulders as I looked over the menus. I had been distracted and hadn't noticed that Jilly had moved around behind me, but I no longer felt the same creepy crawly feeling from before. I guess this new system and seeing her when she was hurt had reminded me that she was still just a girl. I wasn't sure what Mary was doing because I could feel her staring just as intently at the screen. Can you both see the floating screen in front of me? I asked the girls as I turned to the girls. The screen moved around with me as I turned, and I noticed both girls following it as I did. That confirmed my question, but now I wanted to know how Mary could see it. Chapter 12. Raining Death, Spoiled and Soiled. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Jilly. Stop. I called out, but it was too late to stop her. Suddenly, as I ran, my vision was filled with what must have been at least 50 little white borders and black windowed messages. Each and every one of them read the same thing in rapid succession, and then the air was filled with yipping, then all hell broke loose. Spine nailer, X69 suddenly, balls of fire, ice, and green smoke. Looking stuff that I could only assume were poison gas began firing off in all directions. I ran and tackled the tall Omniacade by her centipede body and knocked Jilly to the ground. Jilly's attack stopped, and she turned on me, but I was already crawling up her smooth body to pin her down. She had not been able to see the fireball that had just passed where her head had been seconds after I had tackled her. Oh, is this more meats? Mary asked as I was now moving up Jilly's waist. No, and you can't go running into a fight like that. I scolded Jilly, and she tried to look away, turning up her nose at me, but as she tried to cross her arms, Mary darted forward and bit Jilly's left breast. Jilly started to squeal in pain and started to try and slap Mary, but every one of them hit me instead. I had to cover Jilly's mouth with one hand and pry Mary's off with the other. Mary! Stop it! That's Jilly's breast you're trying to eat. I whispered harshly in her ear, and that ended up making Mary let go in surprise, but the instant release of pressure must have caused Jilly some more pain. My eye nearly popped out of my head, and I suppressed using every curse word I knew and bit my own lip. Mary was in shock for only a moment, and then she moved forward again and began to gently lick her bite marks to make them better. The effect was spot on, but maybe a little too effective. As Mary licked Jilly's wound she had created, Jilly stopped biting me but grabbed my arm. She began to moan softly, started to lick my hand that she had just bit very sexually. If this was any moment but this present one, I would already have my clothes off, this was way too hot. Then there was the little matter of the balls of death and screaming animals. Yet, none of this fazed the girls, they were in another world, plainly enjoying themselves. All right, you guys need to stop this and save it for later. I whispered. Shouted at them, but the sound of dying canine howls and screams were slowing down. Jilly, level 3. Achieved. Jilly, level 4. Achieved. Jilly, a new skill, leveling. Jilly can now use leveling for clearing sites and creating a level and stable build locations. I wrestled my arm from Jilly and parted Mary's explorative tongue from Jilly's breast that had lost the teeth marks. When I finally got up, I cringed at sight around me. 3 headed dogs lay everywhere, dead or dying. All of them had strange black roots protruding out of their bodies, and every one of them looked like they had died in incredible amounts of pain. Monsters or not, this was too much, and Jilly would need to limit what she used this for. Not only did it put the beast through cruel torture, but it also ruined any chance for us to eat the meat. Not that I would have wanted to eat dog, but I am sure that the girls would not have minded, but there was no chance of that now. All the intestines and other things that held waste would have gotten stabbed and then mixed with the blood and then the meat. Oh look, I missed on over there, Jilly said as she clicked up beside me and started to rear up, but I grabbed her arm and pulled her back down. No, you have done enough, and that one is not a threat anymore. You can't be using that attack if you want to be able to eat the things you kill, I explained as I weaved through the bodies that littered the ground. I headed to where the dog was. It had been trapped in a corner by a half ring from the spikes. They had grown up and around to create a fence about 100 centimeters tall. They had grown roughly the height of a piece of plywood turned sideways. Why? Are you saying I can't eat these now? Why not? Jilly raged from beside as she traveled over the dead or dying bodies. I had slowed down at each animal that was showing any sign of life and brandished my blade. The first one, I tried to go for a normal ear-to-ear, but when I went to make the cut, the blade flexed. I was about to get very angry when I pulled the knife away, but as I brought it back, just above the neck, the dagger stretched out. The tip pierced the back of the dog's 3 necks in lightning-fast succession, and the dog fell limp. No, you damaged the insides of them where all the waste and toxins are held, and they have mixed with the blood. Now we will get sick from eating the meat, even if we cook it, I told Jilly as I stood back up and continued on. I wasn't really sure about the getting sick part if we cooked it enough, but poison meat and meat with poisons in it were two different things. Still, I didn't want to eat the stuff, and this little possible untruth would help keep Jilly from being so reckless in the future with these attacks. No meats. Mary asked from my shoulder where she was resting her head, was this woman always hungry? No, but we do have someone that looks like they could help us out since we are the cause of her pain, I said while pointing at the female 3-headed dog that was bleeding from multiple nasty-looking cuts. Is this dog a bitch or bitches? My bitch or my bitches? Well, she was all dog, so at least I would only have to put up with 2 awkward situations. That is if this beast was tameable. Probably could hurt to try. Chapter 13. Three-headed dog, or something like that. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I smell bloodses. There must be meats, Mary and her snakes hissed, and one of the snake's tongues went in my ear, making my eyes go funny as I had a minor body spasm. Bah! Mary! Stop letting your snakes hiss in my ears. I said to her as I caught my balance. Sorry, I is still hungry. Feed me pleases. Mary hissed excitedly, and I wiped the drool from her cute mouth, making her smile. I turned back to the three-headed dog and wiped Mary's spit on my pants. The dog looked in rough shape and would need to be cleaned up, and some of those wounds may be sewn up. So, are we going to eat it, or are you just going to stare at it? Jilly asked as she leaned down to me. Can you go put more wood on the fire, and I will cut up some more of the troll when I am done here, okay? I asked, and Jilly threw up her hands but then clicked off to tend to the fire, mumbling as she went. Stupid man, thinks I am his slave, just wait until he is sleeping. I heard her say, but her voice trailed off before I could hear the rest. I thought this system prevented the girls from trying to eat me. Oh. You say that, but neither of us knows what she actually meant. So, you might still be the unlucky bastard, but I'll be unluckier. I pulled out my fire sword and hacked a path into the black thorn bramble vines Jilly's attack had created. This was the worst way to approach a frightened and scared animal, by cornering them, but I didn't have many choices. The three-headed dogs' mouths started to glow their respective colors, but I put my hands out to them. Listen, there was a big misunderstanding with my friend, Jilly, and I am sorry. I don't want to hurt you, I want to help you, I said softly with my hands forward and palms up. I went slow, but they still backed up to the wall, so I slowed down and stopped altogether. I waited for the three heads to come forward, and they each sniffed my hand and then each licked one of my hands once. Poof, I had been moving closer to the dog, but it had suddenly exploded in the same kind of white smoke as the items that Mary had given me had produced. I went down on my hands and knees and crawled forward, but the smoke dissipated, and I was staring into 1, 2, and yes, that is a third breast in my vision. Holly Hannah, and they were chocolate milk colored, breast of perfection, but then there were the cuts and scrapes that cover the rest of the beautiful ebony angel. Will you really help us, or is it to just use us for sex like our own people did? A beautiful redhead asked me as I brought my vision up to the proper height and eye level, sitting up. I don't want to become a toy again, the girl with blue hair cried out in sorrow, large tears starting to fill up her eyes. I don't think that's what he wants, but then I'm pretty sure that's what all men want, the one with green hair said, and she seemed to be the calmest of the three, so I focused on her. Yes, I am a man, and yes, you are all beautiful, but I am not a wild animal that will force myself on you. For now, I just want to help clean up your wounds, and then we will get you something to eat, I explained with a gentle tone, but the mention of food made the girl's stomach growl. They put hands over their stomach and looked away in embarrassment at the sound it had made, and that made me smile but hurt a bit too. These three must have had a tough life, maybe more than challenging, but I couldn't change what was only what will be. Mary, can I have something to clean these girls up with? I asked Mary, but faster than I could follow, she was on the girls. At first, I was worried she would try and eat them, but instead, she just started to lick them. Blue and Red had squealed, but Green was a different fish than the other two. Green had her eyes closed and softly moaned, and soon the other two calmed down. I watched as the places where Mary licked were healing slowly, but only slowing in the sense of not healing like Wolverine. Mary, Level 4. Achieved. New skill, ... Hey. What is with all these question marks? How am I supposed to know what they are? I watched in awe as Mary basically completely healed the girls, but now I could see how starved her body really was. I shook my head in sadness and stood up, offering the girls my hand and pulling Mary off them. She had started to lick her way up Blue's neck, where there were no injuries. The girls took my hand, but when they got up, I could see that it hurt them all to put pressure on their left leg. I stepped forward and gently picked up the girls into my arms and off their feet. They wrapped their arms around my neck, and Green pushed her face into my chest, and the other two rested their heads over as well. "What are your names?" I asked as I started to walk over to the fire to see Jilly grumpily attending. "Reese," the green-haired girl said on the left, and the one closest to me. "Sarah," the redhead on the far right said. "Bera," the blue-haired girl in the center said. "Interesting," I said as I walked, feeling like I was missing something. Chapter 14. Monster Nanny, 3 more cute mouths to feed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I dropped off the girls on the rock I had been sitting on before to cook the meat. It wasn't cold, but the girls had been shivering, so I figured this would be the best spot for her while I cut more meat up. "Are we going to cook her alive, or do you want me to kill her?" Jilly asked me as 2 large 20-centimeter golden curved blades shot out from under her hair. Bera and Sarah were both burying their faces in my chest as they grabbed at me in fear, and I couldn't really blame them. Only Reese had the balls to look Jilly in the eyes and her face blades. "Stop it. I am taking care of her, and you will go find something to do while I get this meat ready, or I'll..." I trailed off as I looked up at the sword face. "Just leave the girls alone. They have already been through enough, and I am going to get more meat to cook. Please go find some more." Monster Girl. Reese, Bera, and Sarah, is now in your care. New title. Monster Nanny, Level Up, Level 3 gained. Kez Foreman, Level 3 title. Monster Nanny rank. Poor and Ranchless Rancher, Monster Girls. 3 system. Ranching system abilities. Monster Girl Rancher. Gain experience from taking care of your monster girls. Monster Girl Pacification. The innate ability to calm monster girls. Monster Girl Care. All things done to care for monster girls are 100% more effective. Monster Girl Food Prep. All food you prepare for monster girls is 50% more satisfying. Reese, Bera, and Sarah, Level 1 title. Not applicable species. Cerberus unique ability. Fire, ice, and gas magic system. Enchanted fetch system abilities. Fetch, ice, throwing an item and having Bera fetch it will give the item a slight quality improvement and give it a common ice enchantment. Items cannot be thrown by system user. Fetch, fire, throwing an item and having Sarah fetch it will give the item a slight quality improvement and give it a common fire enchantment. Items cannot be thrown by system user. Fetch, gas, throwing an item and having Reese fetch it will give the item a slight quality improvement and give it a common gas enchantment. Items cannot be thrown by system user. I hope that I was the only one that found this system degrading, but I guess she was a dog at heart, and I had to admit that it was a pretty cool system. The problem with it was that they had to have the items thrown, and they didn't have combat system abilities, but they did have their magic. Fine, she is part of the messed up a little group of females you are gathering. I won't eat her, but I am still undecided about you, so, chop. Jilly said while shaking a branch at me. "Are you getting some more meats?" Mary hissed softly by my ear, making the hairs of my entire body stand up with the goosebumps right behind to give extra credence to the hair-raising effectiveness of her voice. "Yes, my cute little snake, we are going to get some more meats," I said with a hiss, but then Mary bit my neck roughly, make me shout and almost fall over. "I don't mean to hiss," Mary said after biting me, but then she started to lick me, and the pressure mark stings from her teeth. "Sorry, you're right, that was rude of me," I said as we walked over to the dead troll that was not smelling any better, and now there were weird flies that looked more like armored beetles. As I used the loose leaf dagger to skin and cut the meat off the other leg and rump, I watched the beetles. Usually, I would be grossed out by them, I hated all bugs equally, but these ones were bizarre and seemed intelligent. I watched as one of the winged beetles took out a tiny rock that looked sharp and then started to scrape the meat off the bone. Bugs using tools, very strange, but what was weird was none of them were eating it. I was lucky that the loose leaf dagger did 99% of the work, or I would have cut my hand off 3 or 4 times over. Mary was licking me again, and I was starting to feel more like I was just a salt block to her as I watched the bugs work, but I didn't mind. After the loose leaf dagger was finished prepping and tenderizing the meat, I carried all the cut steaks with my blind and drooling snake. Mary was staring at the steaks and leaking saliva out, and I still couldn't figure out how she always knew where to look or grab. Jilly laid out new saplings that she had trimmed herself and was now laying them across the fire like I had before. The sticks weren't great to cook on, and you have to turn them. The only problem was that I had to fend off 3 hungry animals instead of 2 this time, and there was more food. Is it donuts yet? Mary hissed with excitement as I placed the last steak, barely able to get my hand to block a snake tongue from my ear. What are you doing to the meat? Why can't we just eat it? Red-haired Sarah asked with a bit of a whiny tone. It smells good, blue-haired Bera whispered. Have a little patience. He is burning the burn, so it tastes better, I would assume. Can you not already smell how much better the meat smelt when our master brought it over? Reese said, turning her head to look directly at me, her long pretty green hair. So, Sarah got all the raw and hot emotions, fitting. Then Bera seemed to be quiet, calm, but emotionally built like a house of cards. Out of the 3, Reese seemed to be the more level-headed and somewhat normal, if overly formal. The whole master thing just was not going to work for me, though. Chapter 15. Girls, we are Monster 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I looked at Ree's naturally green eyes because what other color would they be? They were pretty, but that wasn't what was important right now. Yes, I will make it taste much better, you can ask Mary her as she drools in excite.oo. I had been saying but then bit me harder this time, hitting a nerve and making my knees buckle. Soft merkin fun ov meh. Mary said with my neck still in her mouth. I was barely able to stay on my feet, and I didn't dare try to pull her off. Mary was all but breaking skin right now, but if I moved, that might change. I suppose I really needed to start treating these women like ladies and not my pets. I deserved to get a bite for saying that after she had been so cute with me. I relaxed my neck, and Mary slowly let go, and I was able to stand back up straight. The other 4 had stayed perfectly quiet the entire time. Sorry, I know I said that I wouldn't do it again, and I do. So, I deserve that. I will start treating you all more like women. This is all new to me, and I am not really sure how to act, I said, turning to Mary, but she crossed her arms across her heaving breasts and then snaked around to be in front of me. Mary was not heavy, but I had to move back from the fire and brace myself a bit. I felt like I was about to get an earful, and I was not wrong. Just because I am different doesn't mean you can pick on me and make fun of me. I tried to hurt yous, but I couldn't. You are starting to sound like some of the bad people. Mary shouted at me. I froze, stuck in my own stupidity. This is what Mary had meant by good and bad people. That would be all that mattered to her, the way people treated her. Now I was acting like one of the bad people instead of just enjoying the cute things for myself. I wasn't really sure how to fix this. Mary had all but just admitted to trying to kill me. Mary, I think you need to give Kez a break. He has been very good to us, so I think that we can overlook that he might say some stupid things from time to time, but he is a male. He could have easily just run away from both of us, and we both would have been alone again, Jilly said to Mary, coming over and petting her snakes, who seemed to enjoy it just as much as Mary. I guess so, but don't do it again. You seem like a good person, and I don't like hurting you, but I am a monster too. Mary said as she slithered around me. I quickly moved forward and flipped the meat, and none of it was burned, thankfully. I was very grateful for Jilly's intervention, and I would have to do something nice for her, maybe extra meat. The Cerberus girls were sitting quietly, but it must have been very awkward for them with Mary attacking me and yelling between us. The meat would be done soon, and then I could get everyone filled up, and hopefully, my new skill helped fill the girls this time. That I had 20.4 steaks cooking, which meant that we could each have 6, but that would just be 2 each for the Cerberus girls. So, I decided that I would take 1 from each girl and give 4 of mine to them. I wasn't really sure about how their stomachs worked, but their body looked famished. I took the steaks that Jilly had got ready for me, and I started stabbing steaks on them and spreading them out. I slammed the meat sticks into the ground with my empowered strength to let them cool, and I wasn't surprised when Jilly waited patiently. She had learned her lesson, but Mary was staying behind me and not hanging over my shoulder. That made me feel horrible, as it should, but I would have to try and do something to make it up to her. I can only imagine how difficult her life must have been up to this point. This was the same for all the girls, and now it was my job to take care of them. All while trying to become the strongest being in this world. I sighed, the title I wanted seemed exceptionally far out of my grasp. My current title placed me as a monster nanny, whatever that meant. I finished the last meat stick, and stabbed it into the ground, then started to hand out the first one that had cooled some. I told the girls to be careful because it was hot, but then I grabbed 2 meat sticks. Jilly, I will be back in a little bit. My shirt is still there, and the inside of it will be good enough to wipe yours and the girls' faces off, I said to Jilly, and she nodded to me. I turned and walked away with Mary and the meat sticks, heading over to a place out of sight and earshot to the others. Mary had not asked for her meat, nor had she tried to climb over me, and this feeling was eating me up inside. Mary, would you come around and sit on my lap? I asked after I had sat down, and Mary complied. After she came to sit in my lap, I handed her the meat and let her dig into it. As she did, I took a large bite out of one of my steaks but then pulled it off and set my stick to rest on a rock. I had chosen this spot because of a large rock beside me close enough to be used as a table. I pulled out the loose leaf dagger, and the knife went to work, dicing and chopping the meat into tiny little chunks as I chewed. I put the dagger away and then turned back to Mary, who was eating her steaks quietly. Her snakes were trying to gnaw on the steaks, but they weren't having much luck. I didn't want to even try to comprehend how Mary and her snakes' insides worked, but they did seem hungry. I grabbed a bunch of pieces of meat that the dagger had cut up and started to feed them to the snakes, and they gobbled all of it up. I turned and pulled another steak off and let the dagger do the work, but I could tell the blind woman was watching me. As I turned back, Mary turned her body so her back was to me and then leaned back and cuddled into my chest as I fed her snakes. Maybe not so bad, Mary hissed gently between bites, and I relaxed, and her snake all looked to me for more food. I had better get at least one of these steaks, but if I didn't, that was okay, too. I was just glad that Mary was cute with me again. Chapter 16. Friends, I am not your master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I did get 2 of my troll steaks after all the little snakes seemed full, and it was nice just to have a moment to relax. Mary was licking her fingers, and she had let me slide my arm around her waist. I was petting her snakes when Mary asked me something that surprised me. "WHSSS, did you come here?" Mary hissed softly as I watched her stone-covered eyes close with content from my strokes. I didn't plan on coming here, but I had made some mistakes in my life, and I tried to cheat my way to the top. I thought that I could just take the easy way and no one would care, but I was wrong. I ended up losing everything and embarrassing myself, so I had decided to join a group of individuals that valued hard work and determination, I said, thinking about what I had been about to do. There was a lot of merit in joining the army, but I don't think it was for the right reason. What I had wanted was something that I could do to prove to myself that I was more than just some cheater that could only rise up by taking the easy way. Instead, I got home last night, which is still here today, and saw a red glow coming from behind my house and decided to check it out. From there, I found a hole in the ground, and now I am here with you girls, I said, finishing my explanation. Do you like us it's here? Mary asked, opening her eyes and turning to look at me with them. I stared into her eyes, but I was sure that Mary's sightless eyes looked into mine, and that made me feel warm and calm inside. It has been one hell of a ride so far, but I can say that this is much better than I could have ever hoped for with the army. So far, the place has been pretty wild, but after meeting you, things have been much better. I can't tell you how sorry I am for making you feel that way, Mary, and I promise that I won't do anything like that to you again. I like you, and I don't want to do anything that will make you angry or sad, I explained to her, and Mary rubbed her head into my chest. It's okay, I forgive you this time. You fed my loveliest too, and they like us you now, so I kind of like us you too, Mary hissed with a smile as I stood with her. Mary curled around me and wrapped her arms around me this time, and rested her head on my shoulder. This girl was too cute, and now she was back to being that way and getting closer to me. That meant that my earlier assumptions about her being all over me because she liked me were off. I guess these girls probably just saw me as food or some kind of help until they could eat me. I walked back to the other 4. There was no meat left, and the girls looked bloated but satisfied. Did we work out all our problems, my little snake? Jilly asked as she lifted herself up off her red armor shell she had been resting on. Yes, Kaz. Mary tried to say my name, but the Z sound made her stick out her tongue and make a buzzing/farting noise. It was all I could do to keep my laughter in, but Jilly didn't hold herself back as she laughed, but I guess they knew each other. Don't try to repeat his name, you might bite your tongue off. I can see your sleepy snakes, so you don't need to tell me how it went. I know he has found your weakness, and now you're just going to be his pet, Jilly said with a smile, but I stepped in, feeling Mary heat up on my back. None of you are my pets or anything besides my now friends. I am not your master, you do not need to listen to me, but I appreciate it if you would for some things. This is new for all of us, but I don't want to get off on the wrong foot, so to speak, I said while looking between Jilly and the Cerberus girls. They had stayed quiet and were rubbing their protruded belly. 3 stomachs or not, that was a lot of meat for those girls, but they looked happy, so that was what mattered. So, then what are you going to do now? Jilly asked as she moved closer to me, slowly lowering herself down to my level suggestively. I turned from Jilly's advances and walked over to Sarah, Bera, and Reese, putting my arms under them to pick them up. The girls didn't struggle, and they let me pick them up, but Sarah got to rest on my chest this time, or there might have been some complaints. I would like you to show me where it is that we can start earning some MP. Is the whole world like this? Rocks and canyons? Or is this just one place? I asked as I turned back to Jilly. No, but this is a tiny part of the massive world, or so I am told, but I have never been off this island, Jilly said to me. Island. So, is there a village or something where we can go and get you, girls, some quests? I asked hopefully, but I was not reassured by the devilish smile I got back. Yes, this will be a great chance for you to have your first meeting with the demon kind, since you hid from the last one, ha ha ha. Jilly said with a scoffing laugh. I didn't want to interrupt your little meeting, I said with an innocent smile. Well, don't expect any warm welcomes from the demons. They only tolerate us other monsters and have been known to turn on us in the middle of the town. I advise you to watch how you act, some are a lot tougher than they look, especially the little old lady demons. Do not mess with them. Jilly warned me before turning to the south. Don't fuck with little old ladies, got it? Chapter 17. Fork in the road, if worst came to worst you are listening at novelfull.audio. I followed Jilly south, but I walked beside her so I could talk to her about the world. Now that things with the girls seemed to like it was straightening themselves out, I really needed to get on top of learning about the world. So, are there any other humans like me? I asked. No, there are some that look close to you, but they are some of the worst monsters. All they do is latch onto you and drain your thoughts until you're left to drool and starve to death. I can't remember what they are called, but they have eyes in their hands and much sharper teeth, but that is about as close as it comes to looking like you, Jilly explained to me, but I was noticing that the canyon was starting to arch up. That's fine, not like it would make a difference. As you can see with me, humans are just monsters without visible natural weapons, I said as we started to get higher, and I was able to start seeing treetops, which reminded me of the wood that had just been cut up, and we ended up leaving behind. What do you think of the builder system that you have? Is it to your liking? Not that I think that I can change the system, but I might be able to show how to get to where you want if you tell me what you want, I said to Jilly, as Mary slept on my shoulder and the Cerberus girls in my arms, so it was just the two of us. Jilly didn't answer me right away, so I had a moment to look around at the forest we were walking into. I was really excited to see the world, but I needed to get stronger. I didn't want to rely on the girls for help. None of them were using combat systems, and the ones that they had shouldn't have to be used as ones. I guess I don't mind it, but I have never really done anything that I truly enjoy because I could never do it the right way, and then I would just give up. I am just worried that I will hit a wall and not be able to progress further, and then at that point, what is the point even? Jilly asked while looking forward. Yeah, makes sense, but, like mine, your life has just changed. I didn't really like the idea of having something forced on me that was going to let me breeze through here. You might think that is stupid, but that's just the way I felt about things, I said to her as Jilly pointed to the left path of a fork in the road. The other way is to the Minor Oni Demon Lord's Keep, this path will take us to the town, Jilly said as she guided me, but I stopped her, I had an idea. Now, we are all here together, and it is my job to keep pushing you forward, so just keep looking forward. If you feel like going back and stopping, I'll be there to push you forward or take your hand and pull you. So, what about this Minor Oni guy? I asked now that I had stopped her. Mexico. For a demon, you might consider him nice, but she will usually rope you into doing things for him in the guises of his niceness. Still, if you complete the tasks, you can earn some MP. What did you have in mind? Jilly asked, coming down to my height. Good, I kind of assumed he might be like that. It was either that, or they would be horribly spiteful to everyone, I said with a smile. That would be the other Minor Oni, Neft. That one is on the other side of the island, Jilly said while rolling her eyes. Good, and she can stay there. I think that we should go visit this guy and earn some points, and maybe we can rent a stable or something to rent, I said absent-mindedly. What is a stable? Jilly asked me. It's a place to put horses, but they are an animal humans like me rode. So, I don't know if monsters would ride other beasts or monsters, I said, tapping a finger to my chin. There are races that do, or at least I have heard of something to that degree. Though, there is nothing like that on the island, Jilly explained, and we both started to walk down the path that led to this Minor Oni, Mex. So, you said, he is nice, but what do you mean by that? I asked a little worried that this might be another one of those varied opinions. If we can be of help to him, he will more than likely give us a place to stay in his keep. Though, we might be sent out to kill other very powerful monsters that can't be killed by the average person. So, yeah, a place to stay if we survive, Jilly said with a half-hearted laugh. That is a pretty steep bargain, but I think that we are above average. We will see what Mex has to say, worst comes to worst, we can sleep outside, I said as we walked along. That would definitely be the worst. The monsters that come out at night here are far worse. I usually pull a big rock in front of my cave and then roll one from the inside to discourage other night monsters from trying to attack me, Jilly said. Okay, well then we had better kill whatever he wants us to, or we are going to have a very long night. I need to get in some monster killing anyways, and maybe we can get some new kinds of meat to try, I said, smiling up to Jilly, but then I felt Mary stir on my back. Meats. Mary hissed softly and then fell back asleep. Chapter 18. Grandmother Nishi, the Daughter Eater. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It took us about an hour of walking to get to the giant castle surrounded by a 10-meter wall with guards standing on the tops. None of them looked like they were paying much attention to us as we approached a large river. A big bridge spanned across the water, and there was a pair of blue-skinned and winged guards standing at the entrance on the other side. I stopped our group before we went across the bridge. I wanted to ask a couple more questions that had just come to mind. Can you tell me a little about the demons, like do they have ranks? Are those guys like the one that came to see you? I asked. Yes, they are the same, all lesser grunts, but they can still fight and use magic, so don't go thinking of trying to take the keep. If we are nice, then Mex should be nice enough back to us. The biggest thing is to not let the grandmother get under your skin, Jilly explained, and I felt Mary stir on my back, and her snake started to rustle around. Where are we-is? Mary hissed as she rubbed her face into the side of my neck. Kaz has brought us to see Grandma Nishi and Madame Klesh at Lord Mex's keep, Jilly explained, and I felt Mary start to get excited. Nushi? Mary asked as she wiggled around on my back. The Cerberus girls had changed back into dog form now, and they were walking on the opposite side from Jilly. They had thanked me for carrying them but then asked to be put down, and now they were staying at my side. Of course she will be there, the girl never leaves her room, Jilly said while rolling her eyes. Klesh. Nishi. Mushy. I asked in confusion. Oh, I guess I had better tell you about Nishi. She is Mex's great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, and before you ask, the other ones are dead. Grandma Nishi is an Ala medium lesser demon, and she has a thing for eating her female descendant, Jilly explained, and I just looked at her with shock. Wait, she eats her kids? I asked in horror. Her kids, and their kids, but only the female descendants. That is why Nushi never leaves her room. She knows that one day she will be married off and forced to have a child, then Nishi will eat her. Only Klesh visits her, and she is the only person that Mex truly hates, Jilly said to me. Well, if Mex is considered a nicer demon, then I could see why eating his mother and not waiting to eat his daughter might make him like that. You called her a medium lesser. Does that mean that she is stronger than Mexico? I asked. Nishi is the strongest demon on the island and the only medium demon. She is even stronger than DOA. You would wonder why a demon of her rank would live under another then, right? Jilly asked. That is a good question, but I think I know the answer to this one. Nishi must be waiting for something so that she can leave this island. If she has been gathering power for this long and hasn't made a move on the controller of this island, that just means that she is looking for a bigger target, I explained. Yes, and no one knows how close she is to reach her goal or what she will do once she gets there. Some think that she will just leave and head to the main continent, but others think she will go on a killing spree and slaughter the island to become stronger. Regardless, be very careful around her. I have only met her briefly, and she didn't seem horrible, but she is very opinionated, Jilly warned me, but then I turned to look across the bridge at the sound of a voice. You. Yeah, you. Quit loitering, or we will come over and fuck you up. This is the great demon Lord Mex's keep, and we don't stand for no loiters around here. One of the blue lesser demons yelled at us. Trig. These are more than likely guests to the great demon Lord Mexico. I am so sorry for the rude way, my partner, said the other demon, trying to apologize, but the first demon cut him off. Partner. What? Do you want me to take you to the shack? Liddy not doing things right for you. Need some real demon in your, the first demon tried to say, but then, the second one punched him in the face. Things degenerated from there, and the two tossed the spears they were holding aside and went at it in earnest. I looked at Jilly with a raised eyebrow, and she just closed her eyes, shook her head, and took in a deep breath before speaking. This is normal behavior, and it's best to let them get it out, or you will just be drawn into it. Let's just go inside, Mex should know that we have arrived by now, and he will more than likely be waiting at the top of his stairs so he can make his grand entrance when we do, Jilly explained. Then we can go and Cesius, knew she. I want to listen. Mary said with excitement. Yes, after we will take you to go see Nushi, and then we will stay with her while Kaz goes and defeats whatever crazy thing Mex wants to be killed this time, Jilly said nonchalantly as she clicked by me. Wait, hold on a minute. Why am I the only one going to fight this monster? I asked, reaching out to stop Jilly but missed grabbing her. You can't actually expect to take us with you, can you? How are you going to protect us when you are trying to kill the monster? Jilly asked as I caught up to her, and we passed the fighting guard, who paid no attention to us. Yeah, but who was going to protect me? Dovey Co., author note. I have decided to try and promote this book just through. So, all extra chapter, NSFW artwork will be available on here. Once I hit chapter 45 I will only post one a day to Webnovel and Scribble Hub, and all XXX chapters will be on here for anyone that purchased the Monster Girl Ranching tier or a tier above that price with merchandise. This also means that I will be opening a merchandise shop soon with the new art that you will be able to buy from directly without paying the extras from Patreon. Please let me know what you think of this. Chapter 19. Mex, Demon Pushover. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I found it strange that no one really seemed to care that a human and 3 monsters were waltzing right into the place. I looked around the castle grounds, but it was mostly grass, and there were even some flower beds being cared for by blue-skinned females who were wearing modest clothing. Not what I had expected from a self-proclaimed demon lord, but maybe I was holding on to my human world views of things that didn't really even exist. I am sure that if the monsters saw our people in our world, they would ask why we all look so much alike. The front door to the castle was unmanned, but it took all I had to even get the thing to budge. Of course, that was when Jilly decided that I might need help, and the door was opened with ease. This was just another reminder that even though I was in great shape and that I was an MMA fighter, the problem was that I had come from wrestling, and I had been a submission specialist. Sure, I had knocked a guy or 2 out, but all of my real fights for victories came from forcing my opponents to submit. I didn't really think that monsters and demons were the submitting types, but I had been wrong about many things so far. As we walked into the castle, the first thing that we saw was a mass staircase that fanned out at the bottom. On either side were small fountains with water shooting up from them, but the sound was gentle and relaxing. Welcome new and old guests. It is my pleasure to have you join me on this fine day. I am the great demon Lord Mex, only of this area of course, and I do love to gloat my minor demon status a bit, a lighter blue demon with more giant wings than the others I had seen said. He was standing at the top of the tapered staircase sanding on a soft green carpet that almost looked like grass. I would say it was like astroturf like they used for minigolf, but from what I could see on the stairs, it looked too real for that. Hello, thank you for the warm welcome. My friends and I decided to pay you a visit since I am new in the area, and they told me that you were a kind and welcoming man. I can see that they were not wrong, I said, trying to butter this Mex guy up. I wasn't really sure what the protocol was here. We hadn't really said who was going to do the talking, but then Jilly picked Mary off me like a child. Come with me, darling, and we will go see Nushi. You can come with me as well, girls, but you will need to change back. Madame Klesch does not like monsters to shed in her castle, Jilly said as Mary latched around her. The Cerberus girls changed back, and then they headed up the stairs and then to the left, all but almost pushing Mex over the railing of the stairs. The demon lord had to squeeze by them, and he made his way down to me. What was going on here? Was this demon just a big pushover or something? I am glad to see Jilly, Mary, and their new friend, and they are getting along strangely enough. Just who might you be? Mex asked me as he stepped off the stairs. Kaz Foreman, I just got here from another world, I said, there was no point in trying to hide it. Oh. Good, then you will be a good strong lad that wouldn't mind helping me out with a small task. I could make it worth your time. Say, 3 square meals, guards to train with, and a place to sleep. You got one of those fancy system things, right? Mech said so fast that I could barely keep up with him, but I got the gist of it. I did get a system, but it's not one of the super strong ones. It doesn't actually help me fight at all, I explained, and Mech's eyebrows shot up. You refused the hero system. Just how long have you been here for? Mex asked as he now walked around me. And what did you do before this? I explained to Mex about my past and what I had done, and how long I had been here. It took about 30 minutes to explain it all, but I brought him up to speed. Fascinating. So, you are the caretaker of these girls? Mex asked me with great interest etched all over his face, and I nodded my head. Oh, this is more than fascinating. Am I missing something? I asked, unsure what was so fascinating, but I guess just me surviving this long must be interesting to him. No, this is good, and you know what? I am feeling even more generous than normal. Listen, normally, I would ask you to go kill a mighty monster, but I think that would not end up for you well, so this is what I will do. Come sit down here, Mex said as he put a hand into the air and called out, chairs and table. I expected to see some more of the smaller and darker blue demons rush out, but instead, it was the table and chairs, walking out. The entire inside of the castle was covered in dark mahogany-colored wood, and no stone showed, so it was weird to see a bright light yellow oak table walking. Not that the walking part wasn't weird enough already, but the stark contrast just felt off. Then, when the 3 pieces of living furniture stopped, they all went back to being a typical set of out-of-place tables and chairs. I will tell you a little bit about the workings of this world. Not everything is as friendly as it seems, Mex said as we sat down. Little did Mex know, I was well aware of this little tidbit of knowledge, but I was interested to hear what he had to say. Maybe this would shed some light on his previous excitement as well. Chapter 20. Demons, no, you can't rule them. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I am not sure if you have been told, but the world runs on strange stuff called MP or monster points. You can earn them from killing monsters that have marks, be a quest given by myself or someone else, but you can also gain them from exploring new places and even developing new areas, Mex explained. Developing. So you mean if I made a city or a town? Or maybe if I took one over and made it better? I asked with interest. Yes, that is how we demons do it, but you would have to collect a large number of monsters to make a city and prevent them from eating each other. For us demons, it's different, we don't eat our own kind that often. You don't have to build something so big as a town, but if you even created a business that helped monsters, you could earn points, Mex explained to me. That was some helpful information, but I wasn't sure if I could make a business out of taking care of monster girls. Still, other things could be done, but I wasn't sure if that was the route I wanted to take. Okay, and then taking one over would be a bad idea as well? I asked, and Mex nodded his head. All the demons act the way they do because I act this way. Not all demon keeps are the same. Some of them have violent and crazy lords, which makes the other demons that way, but if there is no controlling demon, they go into a frenzy. The demons will start to kill and eat everything, including each other, until another high enough ranked demon comes to quell them, or they are killed, Mex told me. Well, they might be the humans of the world, but they were still monsters underneath. I was just going to have to get used to this world being just varying shades of evil. So, no trying to take over a city, got it. So then I guess I am just left with defeating monsters and exploring. I said after rubbing my hand over my face a couple of times. For now, but first, I have a question to ask. How do you acquire the girls you take care of? Mex asked me, leaning forward, showing great interest. Not too sure yet. I think I have to do things for them to help them and to satisfy them. Why do you ask? I asked, having a slight idea what this crafty demon was needling towards. Oh, don't worry about it, there is a pack of Sawajan bothering one of my fishing villages to the west about an hour's walk away. I am sure you can make it there faster, even without the hero system. Your body should have gone through some heavy changes to help you deal with the dangers in this world, right? Mex asked me. A slight wince escaped me as the memory of the excruciating pain returned. Good, then you will still gain power like everyone else. You can train your body like you did in your previous life. As I can see, you are well built, but there doesn't seem to be much weight to your mass, Mex commented as he looked me over. That stung a bit, but that's what you get for cheating. Coming into the world had made all the muscle I had gained from working out and using steroids look like a bodysuit that I was wearing and not my actual muscles. Yeah, the result of my mistake, but it's good to hear that I can work out and get stronger. So, I just have to go and kill or deal with the Sawajan. What is a Sawajan? I asked with no idea what he was talking about. These are reef Sawajan, and they look like fish, I suppose, but they can walk on land. Unlike the monsters you have seen, there are bodies similar to yours, but they have fish heads filled with very sharp teeth. They also like to tote around spears to stab people with, Mex mentions at the end. Well, that doesn't sound too bad, and it's not like I am weaponless. Are they any good to eat? I asked curiously. No, they have to lean on bodies, and the meat is tough, but I don't suggest killing these ones, and that's why I am sending you to this quest first. I just need to find out why they are haranging my village, Mex told me, and I nodded. Well, that doesn't sound too bad, but they tend to be very grouchy folk. I think it might have something to do with their faces, but that's not really something that can be changed. Still, it doesn't change their sparkling personalities of, throw spears, and then scream gutturally later, Mex said as he waved his hands around in a, oh look at me, I'm scary, manner. Sure, why not, but before I go, do you mind if I go up and see the girls? I don't want to just leave, and they do not know where I went, I said to Mex, and he nodded with a knowing smile. Sure, it's good to see that you actually care about them, but I don't think that they will notice that you are gone. Monsters tend to have a very short attention snap, and Mary and Jilly are no exception, Mex said as we both stood. Maybe, but this is more for me to check on them. Maybe the girls have forgotten about me, or maybe they haven't, but I would like to see them regardless, I said. Yes, fascinating. You are one strange animal, Kes Foreman. I look forward to our future endeavors, but by all means, go see the girls, and you can meet my little Nushi. One thing, Nushi doesn't come out of her room much or see very many people, so she tends to be a little rough around the edges. Mary normally comes and stays at the castle with Nushi, but she likes to wander off, and then Jilly usually brings her back, Mex said, leading me up the stairs. Well, that made sense why he was so friendly with the girls, and if they were his daughter's only friends. I had a bit more respect for Mex after that. Now, it was time to meet this daughter. She was a demon, so she might be pretty cute.